Thanks for joining us today. We are discussing the threat that PBS is under right now, public broadcasting, regarding Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C., the Trump administration, the threat to defund this national service. So we decided to bring in Don Dunlap. He is with the PBS KEDT here in the Coastal Bend. Don, it's so good to have you. Thank you for taking time to discuss this very important topic to us. If I could, just bringing this up, you willing to talk with us, what were your initial reactions right out of the gate when you wanted to discuss this? Was this kind of a chance for you to really air out a lot of things that you want to say? Because typically we're confined to only a few minutes on set, but here we have a lot of free time to talk.
Yeah, I think it's, first of all, it's kind of a complex subject, the way public television is structured, fundamentally different than a commercial television station. Uh, you know, uh, but public broadcasting was formed in 1967 during the LBJ administration, part of his Great Society efforts. And it was set up to bring educational resources to the entire population of the country free, no commercials, and to benefit the schools and prepare children basically to be ready to be successful in school. I mean, we're still in today that over 50% of the pre-K age children in the United States don't have access to free pre-K education. So PBS serves a role in that, preparing children for to be ready for school, and thus the term "ready to learn." And we have found out that children that use our programming enter school 7 months ahead in academic achievement. So when we hear that Trump administration wants to cut funding for this, it's kind of surprising, because for years we've enjoyed a really strong bipartisan support, and that's because I think every state and every region benefits from our kind of service. I realize that I think we all realize that the amount of debt that the country has to go away, but this is small. I mean, in compared to other things, it's basically about $10 million per state to provide statewide coverage.
That's what I wanted to ask, is how does this money break down? If these cuts go through fully, and I know you're challenging them legally, or you're looking at your legal options, and we'll get into that in a second, but the funding that comes in, how does it help you with your everyday programming?
Yeah, it's essential, especially to smaller stations where we have less ability in our community to raise funds. There's no corporate headquarters here. There's fewer foundations, and as you know, South Texas is one of the poorer regions of the state as far as average household income. So it's very important to us. It's actually 39%, John Thomas, of our operational funding here,
Well,
and
that's a,
we operate on a very small margin anyway. So it would be catastrophic to
Well,
our
that leads
efforts
into
this
the
year.
pledge drives, because we see those a lot. We know that those take place. So the funding that comes in federally is just a small portion of what the state throughout the state. If I'm not mistaken, if you could explain that, and how the pledge
Yeah.
drives play a role in helping with the rest of that funding.
Yeah, for example, our city here at our station, the federal funding is 39% of ours, and the rest of it comes from uh, local members like you and foundations and corporations that support our educational efforts. But in larger cities, the federal funding may be at 2 or 3% of their operational budget. So a loss of that, they would feel it, but it wouldn't take them off the air like it would a small station like us. And actually, the feasibility studies that we've seen run regarding this kind of a loss, there's 10 public TV stations in the country, in Texas, and at least five of them, and maybe six of them would go off the air, and they're all small areas like Corpus Christi, Midland, uh, El Paso, Lubbock, Amarillo, and possibly the College station up there if
And
those cuts
all
happen.
those areas you describe are having that similar theme that you've touched on, very rural areas. We're talking about people that rely on PBS, on NPR, through the radio when it all goes down. And this is a free service, of course. You just need bunny ears to get your service. But it's one of those, if that's gone, my question has to do with how will they get their news, especially when we're seeing newspapers closing up shop in smaller towns. You might have somebody that's there putting out something once a month or once a week, but still not that steady stream of information.
Yeah, 30% of the community counties in the United States no longer has a local newspaper, and we're calling these regions now news deserts. And it's these smaller areas are not as profitable for television stations, which, as you know, are very expensive to run. Uh, like in Corpus Christi, KDT has the only radio news department of the 22 radio stations in this area here. Times have really changed for several reasons. For example, newspapers nationwide, for every $7 that they've lost in advertising dollars, they've been able to only recoup $1 in digital. So that's a bad business model that's just making these people swirl down to non-existence.
Well, something I know we've talked about outside of this is the services y'all do provide. We see very clearly the decline in newspapers. There's a decline in journalism across the board. When you have an administration that is constantly attacking First Amendment rights, that's going after the media, we see it daily that we're fake news. You, PBS, KDT here, especially in town, you and our station, KIII, we have a really good working relationship. We're two different entities. We're for profit. Y'all are not for profit.
Yeah, and I think that's a very healthy relationship. I mean, y'all help us with so many of the different things. We recently had a kids festival here that had over 2,000 people show up, and you guys did a great job of telling the community about it and pushing a lot of people over here. So, in some ways, y'all are a big part of that too. If people don't know about it, doesn't matter what we do. But Channel 3, it's got such a great reputation in town in this region for so many years. I actually worked there when I was in college, and yeah, I've always appreciated the focus on quality.
Because that's the thing, we try to present the facts, we present what's going on. How do you, as a news group, how do you work to kind of cut through some of the chatter that's out there, some of the misinformation, to let your viewers know that what they're receiving is really it's unbiased, it's straight news, it's the stuff that's happening throughout the day.
Yeah, I think one of the things that public broadcasting, public radio, and television does that's a little bit different because we don't have the commercial pressures that commercial stations do. We do tend to do longer pieces, more in-depth pieces, and we're hoping that further explanation about some of these very complicated subjects helps people see the big picture instead of just the kind of the headline for the day. And just NPR has the largest amount of foreign bureaus of any American news operation, and about just about 10 or 12 years ago, there was a major effort by NPR to really enhance the news operations, and it has resulted in a real growth in our listenership in that area. Morning Edition is the most listened to radio news channel on the radio. And number two is All Things Considered, which we air in the afternoon. So they have a strong following, and I think people like I think the variety of it, but also the in-depth reporting that comes from that service.
When you saw the Trump administration was trying to cut back and close down Voice of America across the globe, did you see that what was going to play out next? Was that a warning sign to all public broadcast?
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear indication on what the plan was, and there's a document called Project 2025, and if you look in that, it pretty much gives you the game plan of what is happening in Washington right now, and the attempts to cut back on libraries, museums, any kind of arts information, news outlets, those things like that, just kind of control the narrative based on this this document, basically.
So, what do you do as an organization? Let's go nationally first. I know there's a couple of leaders with NPR, with PBS that are exploring legal options because they're saying this: the money that the White House is trying to take from y'all is stuff that's been congressionally approved, and that's not legal.
Hmm. When the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was set up with the Public Broadcasting Act, one of the things that LBJ had foresight to include in that was to create a system that PBS and NPR would be forward funded 2 years to insulate us from political influence more. That way, they can't call and say, we don't want you to air this story about and this is a true situation, the Exxon Valdez oil spill, uh, which we
We remember
aired
that from the
anyway.
80s, yes.
Uh, yeah. And so, that I think that was a wise structure. One of the very few things that's forward funded 2 years like that.
And,
So
and I was
one
going to
of
say,
the
because you
things
are
that
that funding does get approved every 2 years to avoid, as you said, that political vibe.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that the Trump administration wants to do is to do what they call a rescission, is to take back that funding that was approved and granted by Congress, and that's where we're seeing, I think, some really tension build up in Washington between the three different branches of government. And I think it looks like right now, kind of Congress is coming out on the low end of that. To administration is to trying to take over a lot of activities that has been, really granted by the forefathers to be the business of Congress.
So, locally, awareness campaigns, what are you doing to kind of, I mean, besides talking with me right now and the few times that we've talked on air live for First Edition, what are you doing? How are you going about this? Trying to get the word out to explain to people what you're about and that, the services you provide.
Hmm. Yeah, we have a number of activities going on, and we've got spots on television, we've got radio spots, social media, communication going on. We're also in talks with our legislatures. I was up in Washington recently with one of our board members here, and we were visiting with all of our congressmen from Texas, our senators and local representatives, Michael Cloud, and also Vicente Gonzalez. His district comes up to Kingsville. We're also in the valley down there. Our coverage area is huge right now, between from Victoria all the way down to the Rio Grande River, and there's like 2.2 million people in there. Uh, Half a million of those are children in school,
Mm.
pre-K up to 12.
What was the
One
reception
of
you
the
got
services.
from
Go ahead.
Cloud and from the other representatives? Did you feel that they sided with you, or they were weighing the options, or are you trying to really impress upon them, hey, we're not a political group here. We're just delivering the news, like it or not.
Yeah, I think part of it is just education. I mean, they they have so many big issues to deal with, and every one of them is complicated, right? So ours is just to try to put some faces and numbers behind the communication with them, to just so they know how many people this would impact. Uh, Large numbers tend to sway them because that's exactly how you win an election.
So from here on out, what people watching this, what can people do at home? Participate in pledge drives, volunteer. How do we keep your KEDT going?
Yeah, we help people, and we have seen some increase in contributions during this kind of tense time right now. But we're also encouraging our viewers and listeners to contact their congressman and tell them what public television means to them. Uh, be respectful. We want them to want to help us. So we encourage people to we see some of these people in town occasionally. Cornyn and Cruz come down here quite often. I think y'all had a news story about Cruz being in town yesterday. It's on the news last night. And those are just kind of opportunities to pass the word about that. We are also reaching out to influential, connected people that are within our sphere, some of our members and stuff that we know have direct communications and relationships with our congressmen, and we're using them as emissaries for to talk about the importance to South Texas. Really, if you look at the lower level of education and poverty, if it's an area that in the country that needs public broadcasting, this would pretty much be the model for it down here.
And that's the thing, like in my talks with you, I love all the programming that you have between Nova and the Challenge. One of my favorites, just to see the kids, because you're providing scholarships to kids. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, helping them with their academic journeys ahead of them. And I don't want to see those programs go. I know a lot of people watching this probably don't want to see those programs go as well. Don, I really do wish you the best. Let's stay in touch. Let's keep this communication going. Continue to educate, and we'll do our best to help you get your message out there, sir. Thank you for spending time with us today.
John Thomas, appreciate it.